How do you use your creative voice in a world that seems determined to silence you? Really, what price are you willing to pay for truth, for dignity, especially when you're up against systems trying to erase your story?
That question, it really hits hard. It's the core pressure point, isn't it, for anyone trying to speak truth to power. And it makes you think, doesn't it? When was the last time you wanted to speak out, but, well, fear held you back? What might happen if you didn't stay silent?
Today, we're exploring someone who, well, his whole life is an answer to that. Paul Robeson. He wasn't just some talented performer. He was
Yeah.
this unstoppable force. His journey is like a living lesson in that lineage of resistance.
Yeah, exactly. Every life we unpack here offers something, a tool for transformation, moving from self-doubt towards confidence. And Robeson's story is so vital because he really showed how discipline, how study builds that foundation for, frankly, radical courage.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today, to unpack Paul Robeson's story. We want to see exactly how his commitment to discipline, study, community didn't just give him fame. It made him this undeniable force for liberation for Africans at home and, all over the world. We're looking at how he used his mind, his art, to win his mental freedom first.
Right, and it's key to remember he didn't just appear on a stage fully formed. Robeson was born back in 1898, New Jersey. His mother was a school teacher. His father had escaped slavery and became this incredibly powerful preacher. So that's his grounding struggle, faith, and high expectations from the start.
And the expectations he didn't just meet, he smashed them. He won an academic scholarship to Rutgers, pretty amazing, became a Phi Beta Kappa scholar, and a two-time All-American athlete. Then on top of all that, gets a law degree from Columbia. I mean, by any standard measure, he was set up for success within the system.
But that system had its limits, its boundaries, and this is where things pivot. Despite all that brilliance, the law degree from Columbia, he realized the legal profession just wasn't going to let him practice with dignity. Why? Because of the constant overt racism he faced. He saw the courtroom wasn't the path to justice. Not for him, not for his people.
Wow. So he basically looked at this prestigious law degree and thought, nope,
Yeah.
this isn't where I fight. That must have been terrifying, a huge leap. Why the stage? Why did he think that could be more powerful than the courtroom?
Well, I think he recognized something crucial. Imagination is where liberation starts. The law, it's often restrictive, right? It deals with what is. But art deals with what could be. So when he shifted to the stage, it wasn't just changing careers. He was choosing a platform, a way to project Black possibility, demand dignity, and do it on a world stage. He just refused to let racism define his limits.
Okay, so this is where it gets really fascinating. He quickly becomes this international star, a phenomenal singer, that bass baritone voice, and an actor, starring in huge things like Othello, Showboat. But here's the difference. Unlike so many artists who just kind of soak up the fame, Robeson used that spotlight. He turned it into a microphone for the struggle.
Exactly. And this is his flashpoint moment, the test of his artistic integrity. He became one of the very first major global artists to say no, to refuse to perform for segregated audiences. Think about that. His art wasn't just for show, it was a demand, a non-negotiable demand for human rights. He started performing spirituals, recording them, not just as songs, but as proof. Evidence of this powerful, enduring culture, directly challenging all those colonial ideas about Black inferiority.
And it wasn't just in the U.S., right, which is so key to understanding why he was seen as, well, unstoppable. He was driven by this deep purpose, and his activism just spanned continents.
Absolutely. He was a true internationalist, supporting anti-colonial movements, fighting apartheid in South Africa, advocating for human rights everywhere. And you see him connecting directly with Pan-Africanist leaders, people like Jomo Kenyatta, who, was deeply influenced by Garvey's ideas and later became Kenya's first president.
That's the lineage right there,
Well,
in action.
And because he became so influential, conflict was unavoidable. It had to happen. By the 40s, the 50s, the U.S. government saw his power, especially with the Cold War heating up. They basically demanded he shut up about American racism, about his support for global Black unity, anti-colonialism, just be quiet.
And his response, probably one of the most famous, defiant refusals ever. He just wouldn't be silenced.
Yeah.
Defended civil rights, global unity, without backing down an inch. Consequences be damned.
And he laid it out so clearly, the artist's role, that uncompromising choice, he said. The artist must take sides. He must elect to fight for freedom or slavery. I have made my choice. I had no alternative.
Wow. That quote, it's heavy. Because the consequences for that choice, they weren't just bad press. This was like total professional destruction.
Oh, absolutely. It was brutal. To silence him, to take away his platform and his income, the U.S. government revoked his passport. for almost 10 years. Imagine that. Couldn't travel, couldn't perform internationally. Then, concert halls here refused him. Records vanished from stores. Blacklisted completely, one of the most famous performers on earth. Effectively silenced in his own country. They tried to just erase him.
So the critics were saying, just sing, stick to entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And Robeson's whole life became the answer. My art is my resistance. My voice lifts the silence. It doesn't entertain oppressors.
Right. And that unwavering commitment, even facing ruin, even being erased, that's real determination. I mean, if Robeson could risk it all for dignity, for truth, staring down the entire government, it really makes you ask, doesn't it, what kind of courage is possible for you today?
Yeah. And that kind of inner strength, that fortitude, it brings us right to the Garvey alignment, which we use, to look at Robeson's life through that practical lens, head, heart, and hands. It shows us how he built that strength.
Let's start with the head, the mindset, the belief system. Robeson fundamentally reimagined what a Black artist could be. Not just an entertainer, no, a liberator. He knew deeply that before you can fight chains on the outside, you have to break the chains on the inside. Mental liberation first.
And it wasn't just about performing the classics, was it? He made a specific choice. He learned something like 20 languages and performed folk songs from oppressed people everywhere, especially African and African-American spirituals. What does that tell us about his mindset?
It tells us he was actively fighting that psychological oppression. He was refusing to get caught in that trap, that downward spiral of seeking validation outside yourself. That's mental slavery right there. When he sang those spirituals, he wasn't asking for anyone's approval. He was asserting the global value of Black culture, Black history, which aligns perfectly with Garvey's core teaching.
And that Garvey phrase really resonates here. We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free the mind. Robeson's intellectual work, his discipline, his imagination, those were the tools. He freed his own mind first, and that's why he could stand so firm when they tried to break him later.
Okay, moving to the heart, purpose, courage. What fueled taking such immense risks? It was profound integrity, wasn't it? A deep commitment to truth and this vision of global Black unity. His purpose wasn't just personal fame, not at all. It was about advocating for the oppressed worldwide.
He used his fame, his privilege, his visibility to stand with people who had no voice, no platform. That shift from focusing just on your own career to dedicating yourself to that global community, that's where you see the real heart of a hero. It's what gave him the strength, I think, to endure nearly a decade of being silenced professionally.
And finally, the hands. Action. Discipline. Robeson modeled incredible resilience and community action. He kept speaking truth even when his career was in ruins, even when he was blacklisted. Since he couldn't get into concert halls, what did he do? He performed for labor unions, in churches. He even sang outdoors, right at state borders sometimes, just forcing people to confront his presence, his message.
That takes enormous discipline, just the sheer effort, the consistency to keep showing up, keep speaking out, even when it costs you everything. You don't get that without that deep internal work first.
And that persistence, it's the perfect embodiment of that Garvey principle. Never give up until you conquer. Robeson didn't quit. He conquered the fear inside, and he stood against the forces outside trying to crush him. His whole life became an act of resistance.
Yeah, his life really shows us that freedom takes work. It takes discipline, study, community. It's a daily practice, isn't it? He didn't wait for permission. He chose action, even knowing the cost.
And that choice, that action, that's the bridge. It connects that whole lineage of resistance directly to the challenges you might be facing right now. I mean, Robeson's experiences, the pressure to assimilate, to code switch, having your identity questioned, being silenced if you speak uncomfortable truths, if that sounds familiar, right? The principles he used to survive, to stay true, those are the principles we need today.
So we really want you to take that lesson, that integrity, and bring it into your own life this week. We're inviting you to embody some of Robeson's courage, his self-possession.
So here's your weekly challenge, grounded in that same discipline and community spirit.
Okay, first, speak up for someone else. Challenge the status quo. Maybe in a place where silence feels like the easier option. Could be anywhere, work, class, even just with friends or family.
Second, share something creative that pushes back against silence. Use your own expression. Maybe write something challenging, a poem, make music, create some art. Whatever your medium is, use it as a tool.
Third, actually study. Dig into the lives of Robeson and Garvey. Understand this lineage more deeply. Knowledge really is the bedrock of power and determination.
And fourth, connect with one person, someone who needs reminding that their story, their voice matters. Just reinforce that community connection that kept Robeson going.
So take a second now. Pause and reflect. Where can you use your talent, your courage, to break a silence,
Yeah.
to help heal your community?
And when you do act, share it. Post your story, maybe share that creative piece. Tag the series, because that lineage of resistance, it gets stronger every single time one of us dares to act with integrity.
Paul Robeson really showed us, didn't he? That true art, it is courage. He proved the price of dignity is always action. Freedom isn't some one-time event. It's a living, breathing, daily practice. And it's fueled by discipline, by community.
So we invite you to sit with Robeson's final provocative lesson. How are you going to use your voice, your imagination, to challenge what other people say you have to be? What pain point, personal or maybe professional, are you going to name, face, and transform this week?
Next time, we keep moving forward in this lineage of resistance. We're going to celebrate Zora Neale Hurston, the absolute embodiment of clarity of mind, of self-possession. Her words just carved entirely new paths for Black creativity and joy. Join the Garvey Classroom's Living Lesson Study, Act, Reflect, Share. We'll see you next time for the Deep Dive.